Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast, located in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. That's PNL Podcast for short. I'm your host and founder, Jen Nosworthy. Thank you for tuning in to UPRN, United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 on that Gulf. And for tonight's Canada Day Haunt Special about the most haunted islands in North America in Belle Isle and Newfoundland, Canada on UPRN segment number 34. I've got two special guests tonight waiting backstage from St. John's, Newfoundland, who I'll bring on shortly. Now it's time to grab your Canada Day drink, get ready for those fireworks, grab a few munchies, and get ready for the spooky show tonight. Paranormal NL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG team. It's a boots on the ground team doing historical paranormal investigations in Newfoundland, Canada. PNL Podcast believes in supporting international paranormal networking and highlighting global paranormal people, places, and things. And you can follow PNL Podcast and the BOG team on their link tree, Paranormal NL Podcast. Now let's get on with the show. Tonight I have on with me, we've got Justin Foley and we've got Mitch Hobbs. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. And first of all, hey, happy Canada Day. Woo!
Happy Canada Day.
So tell us about yourself, Justin, and then we'll switch to Mitch and he can give a little blurb about himself.
Okay, sure. So I'm a bit of I would call myself an amateur paranormal investigator. I have an entertainment company. I've done some teaching. I also worked in the film and entertainment industry for a number of years. I've had a lifelong interest in paranormal, unusual things, cryptozoology, before I even knew what the word cryptozoology meant. Just a lifelong fascination with things like UFOs and aliens, ghosts, fairies, anything that's folkloric, and there's a debate whether or not it actually exists or not. I've always been fascinated by that. So now that I'm old enough and sensible enough, I dabble in it.
Yeah, welcome to the show. So, Mitch, you want to give a little blurb about yourself?
Sure. So, my name is Mitch Hobbs, and I've had a million different jobs, really. I mean, not a million, but like maybe 38, 39 different jobs in my lifetime since I was 18. I've been everything from a chimney cleaner to a cook. I worked in special effects and film for a little while. I've done it all. I've always really been interested in kind of experiencing the world, if that makes any sense. It's one of those things where you got to get out, you got to experience it, you got to see it in order to know it. And when it comes to paranormal and that sort of thing, it's been a childhood interest of mine, like Justin just mentioned. Ever since I've heard my first couple of ghost stories from my grandfather, and it's something I knew that I always kind of believed in and wanted to explore more, if that makes any sense.
I love the paranormal too. Now, both of y'all got something in common I'm going to add to the stage here. You want to talk a little bit about this on the stage right now for the folks listening in on the podcast instead of watching on YouTube? We've got pulled up here Mr. Zach Baggins with Destinations of the Damned. Now, both of y'all appeared in this show. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experiences with it? It was called Cursed Shores, Season 1, Episode 3, where you both went to Belle Isle to meet up with him.
Yeah, now, Zach was never actually present himself directly, but he was very, very in touch with his crew, and they relayed a number of messages, and it was pretty fascinating. Mitch and I were brought on originally for logistical purposes. Mitch was a lot more boots on the ground. I was a lot more making phone calls at first, and then it turned into a bit of a paranormal investigation.
Now, I got to give a shout out to our friend Henry Crane. He was on the show, and we were hoping that we could pull him on tonight, but he wasn't able to come on. So we have to give a big shout out to him because he was also on with History's Most Haunted, U-Boat Island, with Bell Island, because that place has a huge historical history. And then there's a shot of you there, Justin, when you were on the show. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience there?
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure.
By the look on your face, you saw something pretty scary.
Not so much saw. So there were a few things that were visible. I was facing eyes into my equipment a lot of the time, so there's a couple of things that that they picked up on their camera that I actually kind of missed because I was like facing eyes into like a thermal thermometer or things like an infrared thermometer and stuff, and so it's kind of funny in that regard. But we heard some things that were pretty unnerving. So we had the spirit box going for a while, picking up on some AM radio waves, trying to pick up any kind of, not so much transmissions, but any kind of paranormal pickups vocally or anything like that. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm sure everybody does, but for anybody who doesn't know, a spirit box will cycle through AM radio stations at a rapid rate, and paranormal vocalizations can sometimes be picked up in the white noise. And so we picked up a really nasty laugh at some point. So we were in the Dobbins Garden area, and we were dealing with the story of the hag as the woman in white who... Yes. There's argument whether or not she is a ghost of a woman who was murdered or whether or not she is some kind of nefarious entity, whether she's like a fairy or whether or not she's like a demonic entity or anything like that. But the story is that she transforms. She starts off as this woman in white, a kind of attractive young woman who turns into this nasty, menacing creature as you get closer to it and chases you. And so we were in the Dobbin Garden area of Bell Island, which is where she is reported to be. And asking questions, doing some EVP phenomenon attempts, and using the spirit box, we picked up on a really nasty laugh when I asked them the question, people say that when they find you, you chase them. Do you mean them harm? Within a few seconds, there's just this really nasty ha ha that came through the spirit box, and that was not pretty.
Pretty unnerving, eh?
I remember that. So while they were out in the field, I was more or less taking care of the van and the equipment, and that was also my role in what we were doing there. Was the boys would kind of go off and do their thing, and I'd stick around just in case anything, let's say just in case we had to get out of there real fast. Right,
yeah. Now, you also took them right down into the mines. Hey, you want to talk about that, Mitch?
So, the easiest way of saying it is that the spot that I took them, it's not that it's inaccessible, it's that it was relatively dangerous to get there.
Right, yeah. I've been to Bell Island multiple times, and I've never gotten down to that area that you guys took them to. It was an interesting place that you took them to.
So all of those cliffs are shale. For anybody now that didn't see the episode, I had the cameraman zoom in on my hands. I took a piece of shale, and I broke it in my hands. Shale, of course, being a very delicate sedimentary rock. And I said, boys, this is what you're standing on. Yeah. Like this is why this is dangerous. Everything was slippery. Everything. I mean, if you go down there, you're going by yourself. You could not come back. But they were real cool about it, and we went off on a little adventure, and we actually found a fish out of water about, I'd say, 150 feet into this mine. It was a fish that had been eaten. So something pulled a fish out of the water and dragged it 150 feet and ate it.
Something was down there. And it had to be something big and hungry. Now, we talked a little bit earlier about, Dobbins Garden and what they thought was up there. But do y'all want to talk a little bit about the Newfoundland folklore of the hag and what that is?
Sure.
Yeah. I know that there's been some other episodes such as 5TV1. We got to give a shout out to Shane Mills with their Newfoundland Nightmare, The Hag. That was a really good series. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It kind of explains a lot about it. But some people think that, like you said, the white woman could also be the hag who's there, or the queen of the fairies.
Yep, we've definitely heard that as a possibility, that she could be the queen of the fairies, or that she could be a demonic entity. Also heard that she's the spirit of a young woman who pre-war was dating a German, and then when the war started, Germans became persona non grata, and he was kicked out. And then when the war started, there were the spies of German U-boats coming on board, resupplying from Belle Island, bringing it back to the U-boats. And there's a story is that this same woman who was the former girlfriend of a German was caught by German spies and murdered in Dobbin's Garden, and that this is her vengeful spirit. And the thing about folklore is that Newfoundland has no shortage of stories and no shortage of variations of stories. So at this point, I'll be honest with you, I don't know which is the original story about her. But there's those three different distinct origins for her.
And another interesting thing about Belle Island, when you look at the pictures and stuff, is that this goes, there's another shot of Mitch, down under the water, tunneled for miles, right? And there's even some of the mines that have gotten flooded and stuff. It makes you wonder, like, what lives down there. That'd be a perfect spot for something evil or dark.
Yes, they actually do go for quite a distance underneath the water on the opposite side over there, and I mean, like it's always been a concern for a lot of people that it's just going to cave in and cause some serious problems, But so I've been down there a number of times. I've not only taken the tour, but I've had the opportunity to see the stuff off the beaten path, so to speak.
Yes.
And
if you haven't been to the tour, if you haven't been to the tour and you want to come visit a place, come to Newfoundland and Labrador for some paranormal tourism and come down in our mines. We've got some pretty cool stuff down there. There's another shot of our Henry Crane, our tourism guy for Belle Island. And did you feel anything else, Mitch, when you were down there? Like, did it feel
There's dark? So there is this eerie air about the place in general, I mean, like the smells, the sounds. You're directly on the water. Like these mines that I brought, I don't know specifically if the cameraman caught it, but when you walk out of the mine, you got about 25, maybe 30 feet of solid stone that goes out, and then you're right on the deep end of the water.
Right.
And next stop is Ireland.
Yeah, I've got a shot pulled up here of Belle Island. In order to get to it, you got to cross over on the ferry. So it's an island within an island, right?
Yeah.
But there's some of the shale that you were talking about, Mitch.
Yeah, that's the stuff there. So they told me, they said, we're going to do an episode on the Belle Island ferries. We want you to be part of it. And I said, I don't know anything about boats. But
okay.
Yeah, but that's the stuff there, shale. It turns into slate with compression and time, and it eventually becomes slate.
Now, on the show Beyond the Haunting, those girls are going to be coming back on my show soon. They went into this mine. There was a different collar that you can go into, and it's a theater of the mines. And they found a lot of activity down in that area, too. Now, when you go into the tour, you actually get to experience it when they turn the lights off down there. And it is just next level. And I wish, that I could have brought some more equipment or some kind of equipment down there, and that's definitely on the bucket list of things to do is go down and and check out some more stuff.
I've been down there. I experienced the whole shutting the lights off thing. And I believe that's actually a picture. It's a little small on my screen. That's a picture of a Newfoundland pony, is it not?
Yes, because they used to live down in the mines and pull the iron ore around.
Yeah. So they were breeding these Newfoundland ponies specifically for small stature and strength. And probably a little bit dumb too, right? But they built those, or they bred them into that specific size, and they'd use them until the darkness made them blind.
So sad, right?
Yeah, I mean, but it was a different time back then, you know.
Oh, it was for sure. Now, there's also another aspect to this. I've had Ocean Quest on, which is part of Newfoundland and Labrador Adventures, and they take you down to the U-boats and the boats that were bombed by the U-boats. So there's a shot there, but that's another tour that you can do, because we do have some German influence here in Newfoundland and Labrador, unfortunately, because of the iron ore that they were after. They wanted to blow it up. And that's some of the girls who were on History's Most Haunted on the show also. But yeah, that's the episode there, Cursed Doors, that you were on. And is this area that you went to, Mitch, was it down around here, or was it another area?
So it was up through a field, a big dirt road, up through a field. I believe it was on the northern side.
Okay.
So anyway, it's been a while, but so it was up through the field, and then it would take you down to. They had it blocked off. You know how the excavator drops the rocks, right?
Right. Yeah.
So they had it blocked off, so they were like, okay, no more vehicle access from here on out. You then take a smaller path down to where it would just basically end, and it was like, yeah, this is the end of the world, boys. You know, like, you're not going any further. And then we went further. Yeah,
there's another shot down in the mines there. So what else did you feel while you were down there?
So like there were strange sounds, and you know what I mean, like everything echoes. It's an echo chamber down there, but strange sounds and funny smells and all that, you know, like just that eerie feeling. It was I wouldn't necessarily say off-putting, because I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, if you hadn't guessed.
Me, on the other hand, I'm a friggin' wuss. The first couple of times I've gone out to do this, you watch Scooby-Doo and you see Fred, Daphne, and Velma running towards it. You see Shaggy and Scooby running the hell away from it. I'm Shaggy and Scooby, basically. But the first couple of times that I went in and did a couple of these things, I ran with my tail tucked between my legs. And this one here, one of the things that I noticed a lot, most of the time it's fine. Most of the time you're not picking up on anything that's unusual. But the moments that you do, what it feels like more is that you're conducting an investigation. You are observing. You are watching. You are looking. You're using all your senses. And you kind of pick up on this instinct, this sensation that somebody's doing this to me now. I'm being watched. I'm being analyzed. I'm being investigated. You get that sensation. And that happened 2 or 3 times down in that mine. And in that mine, there have been a lot of deaths. One of those things is that, you know, I personally believe you're more inclined to find a spirit lingering in a place where they died, or in a place that they have a lot of emotional connection to. Right. A lot of people died in those mines. It would not be surprising to me at all that there's some residual energy left behind down there.
And there's a lot of water there, which they say causes, you know, a lot of that to pick up with the energy too. Now, some people even say that the actual fairies are haunted, which they could definitely be, because I know some of the fairies are pretty old that go over there.
Yeah. So I actually have a little something on that.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer that if something took all 4 elements plus the spirit to make, it has the potential to hold energy. especially in stressful situations, or, you know,
Right.
like it remembers things. So for example, cars, houses, you know, I mean, like with a car, the fire pushes the pistons, the liquid cools it, it flies through the air, and it travels on the earth, right? And of course, the engineer would be the spirit that made it. And with that, you have all 5
Elements.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
The
yeah.
5
Myself
elements.
and Justin were talking a little bit about that, Mitch, off here, weren't we? About how different things can stick in and it basically impression itself onto different objects, right?
Yeah. They're playing us back their memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the way that I think about it as well. I like to take a very pragmatic approach to these investigations. I know that there's a lot of critics out there, there's a lot of skeptics out there that think that this is all a lot of hooey. I don't think that's a bunch of hooey. I believe in it, but the way that I keep it honest is by working under the assumption that most of the things that I look into are going to be a bunch of hooey. It's going to be something that somebody has mistaken for something else. And so I try to take the scientific, try to take the pragmatic approach of proving what else it can be, instead of going in with the assumption that it's a haunting, going in with the assumption that it's a ghost. Simply because when you do it that way, you keep yourself honest. When you find something that you can't explain, then you give more credibility to the whole idea in the first place. But scientific principle is that matter can be destroyed, but energy cannot be destroyed. It can be transformed, but it can't be destroyed.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned matter and energy, because there's another thing that happened, the Bell Island boom. And I don't know if you guys remember this or heard about it, but April 2nd, 78, a loud explosion caused damage and created 2 perfectly square craters. And I talked with Henry in depth on one of these episodes, because he was previously on season 1, episode 8, and season 2, episode 3. He talked about the Bell Island boom. Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah, we touched it. We touched on it a little bit during our time over there. It's so like what we're getting now is almost like a game of telephone. You know what I mean? Like we get the stories that their grandfathers told them, etc.
Yeah.
So there's definitely bits and pieces that have been added and lost. So we really don't know what went on. We just know that there were chickens going crazy and windows busted out and all of this crazy stuff. But it could be aliens. It could just very well be the settling where the mines happened, right? Like they dug in. And then obviously Newtonian physics, you know, like you're eventually something is going to settle. And when you're riddled with mine holes, that's the logical, you know what I mean? Like the ones that would say, hooey. But I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, William Shatner actually covered it on his show, Weird or What? And if you have time, look it up. I'll put it in the guest bio for Henry Crane, and you can watch it there. But it's really interesting if you have time to watch that video, because there's a lot of different stuff in that one about the boom for sure. And we talked a little bit earlier about the hag. Have either of you ever experienced the hag?
All the time.
Yeah, what happened for you?
Once, maybe once a month, I get it.
Go away. So, like, what happens with you?
So, the first one I ever experienced is probably the most memorable. So, when I was a kid, we lived in these row houses in Bobble Hill, Nova Scotia.
Okay. So,
one section that we were in was all young families, and then the other section was let's say 50 plus living, you know what I mean? Like, but they were much older than that.
Yeah.
So one particular night, or not night really, one particular afternoon, evening after school, I was out swinging off on this woman's clothesline, and I was a bad little kid. So anyway, I had I was out there playing on this clothesline, and she came out, and she was probably in her 70s or whatever, and she said, "Get off that clothesline, young fella," she said, and I looked at her, and I said, "You old bat, I wish you'd die."
Oh.
Ouch.
And, well, a week later, she died.
Oh, no. Did she come back and haunt you?
She sat on my chest.
Oh, see, that's classic hag, isn't it?
I could smell her breath. I remember the color of her eyes.
No.
Yeah. I was in the fourth grade. I'm 38 now.
Do you still have that same dream about her or a different one?
Luckily, she found something else better to do. But I do get plenty. I get the woman standing in the corner.
Yeah.
I get the essentially, like, you wake up and the bed sheets are wrapped around you, you know.
Yeah. Crazy.
But essentially, we write it off as dreams.
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, I mean, it could be somebody from the other side trying to talk to us. You know, I mean, but hag takes a number of forms as well. You know what I mean? It's not always the sleep paralysis demon or whatever they call it. Yeah. You know, like the hag could very well be. One of my big ones now that I've been getting a lot. I live in an old house here, so I can feel the house settling, and I keep dreaming that the house is going to cave in on me.
Oh.
So that would be another form of Newfoundland hag. The hag is just basically the catch-all term for, I just had a dream, it felt like reality, and it sucked. It sucked.
Yeah. How about you, Justin? Do you have any weird dreams like that?
Not exactly. So I've been very fortunate. I've never come face to face with the hag or anything like that, knock wood, so far in my life. Mitch and I are the same age, just shy by a couple of months. But what I did have, I've had two personal experiences, not including the Bell Island investigation. I've had two personal experiences prior to becoming an investigator that made me really kind of buy into the idea, you know, maybe there's something to this, because even though I've always had that fascination with it, I was never a hardcore believer in it. I was always kind of like, you know, this is cool to believe that it might happen, but, you know, realistically speaking, maybe this is not legitimate. So I was always on the fence about it until these two experiences happened. The first experience was I was in bed, I was asleep. I was 21, 22 years old. So, no, actually, I was younger than that. I was still in high school, so I was 17 or 18. So this is 20 years ago we're talking. Okay. And I was having a restless night. I was having a lot of trouble getting to sleep, and I was kind of tossing and turning. And I woke up, I opened my eyes, and in the corner of my room, I'd seen a friend of mine. No. And this friend of mine was away out of province getting heart surgery done. And what happened was, obviously, I was very surprised to see this friend standing in the corner of my room. And then the next thing I know, no longer is she in the corner of the room, but now she's standing right next to my bed. Ooh. And she doesn't say anything to me. It's like just by the time that I register what's happening, she's out of the corner of the room, she's right next to my bed, and she puts her hand on my shoulder. And the second that she puts her hand on my shoulder, I go lights out. I am fast asleep. And the next thing I know, I wake up. So there's no dream. There's no period of restlessness, no period of awareness. I close my eyes, and then I open my eyes, and the next thing I know, it's morning. It's time to get up. Okay. And so I open up my computer, I go through my daily routine of checking social media, and I find the first post in my social media feed was that this friend of mine had some unexpected complications during recovery from the surgery that she was in, and she passed away that night. Mm-hmm. The same night, roughly around the same time that I was having that, not quite dream, but having that experience of seeing this friend in my room. And what was really interesting about it is that at that time, there was no complications expected or anticipated. The idea or the thought behind it was that this friend was actually in recovery. She was going to do fine. Everything had gone well. So it's not like there was this, in the back of my mind, this sensation that something was going to go wrong, this unprocessed belief that she wasn't going to make it that was coming up as a dream. That was there was the breath of relief. There was the expectation that everything was fine. Until that, and that kind of was the first solidification for me that there's something there, because that was a deeply personal experience, and it was like it was somebody I was close to, but it wasn't somebody I was close enough to that this would have been a normal dream. The person involved is kind of unexpected, to be perfectly honest with you. Similarly, the other experience I had, I was driving home from a very late shift from working in a hotel. Mitch and I actually had worked in the same hotel. I was driving home 11 o'clock at night, ready to get home, and I'd stopped at the lights close to Barring Park, kind of where you've got the highway, Columbus Drive, overlooking the duck pond at Barring Park.
Yeah.
And it was a clear night. I vividly remembered this. It was a clear night, and there was a wisp of fog, or just this tiny wisp of fog or a low-lying cloud that kind of drifted across while I was stopped at the red light. And as it got right in front of my car, it kind of coagulated into what looked like a face. It looked like the mask from Scream in a way, but it looked like it had black hair, long black hair. And for just a fraction of a second, what looked like that face, it kind of locked eyes, the sockets of the eyes kind of made contact with mine. And I remember feeling this profound sense of sadness. And that was the thing that jumped out at me, is that I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel nervous or anxiety or any of that kind of thing. It was no reaction to what I was seeing. It was almost like I picked up on what it was feeling in a weird way. And it's so weird, because I by no means consider myself a psychic. I by no means consider myself a medium.
Feel like that they're sensitive and don't even know it, right?
But yeah, that's the thing. It's like every now and again, if something is strong enough, I will pick up on a couple of the vibes of it. I won't know what the hell I am picking up on, but it's very much that spider sense is tingling. What the hell is that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I definitely had that moment then, but it was a very profound sense of sadness. As it looked into my eyes, or as it seemed to look into my eyes, I just felt crushed. And it felt like loneliness, to be perfectly honest with you. And that experience lasted about 2.5 seconds. And the light turned green, drove home, poured myself a real stiff drink, and went to bed.
So it was kind of wanting you to feel how it felt.
Maybe. And that's the thing. Like, that particular one, I was like, that one could have been my imagination, but why would I have felt sad? Why wouldn't have I been afraid? Why wouldn't I have been anxious? You know what I mean? Like, why did I feel sad in that moment? And that's the thing that kind of makes me feel like there was legitimacy to it, is the fact that what you would expect from that situation is not what happened in that situation.
That's what usually happens with the paranormal, right, Mitch?
Yeah, really though. There's there's actually a story that they tell down in Flat Rock here in Newfoundland as well about that. So I used to live there as a young man, a child, my teenage years into my 20s, and so they had this particular road called One Gap Road.
Okay, now, I know where you're going with this one. Yeah.
So anyway, the story that they told me was that they used to love to race on this road. Yeah. Now, I mean, when I was a teenager and I had my little sports car, I was pretty quick on that road too. But so the story that they tell me is that there was a car accident up by one of the bogs that were there, and a lady got decapitated.
Okay, now you're the first person who I've heard talk about decapitation.
Well, this is the story that was told to me. I didn't experience this one firsthand. I didn't see it, but all Halloween nights and stuff like that, I mean, the teenagers would they burn rubber down Wine Gap Road to try to see this woman that would be standing on the side of the road, and you'd think that you're approaching a human being, and then she'd throw her head at the car.
Oh my, that's another. Okay, because I've got a couple episodes on the color of the Wine Gap Witch. I know it's called Wind Gap, but the locals call
Yeah,
it Wine
yeah,
Gap, right?
they have their own little white witch, white lady story down there as well. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and over by the grotto too. That's next level. But
Oh
no,
yeah.
you're the. Now I've heard some other people say that while you're driving down that road, if you're a man, a woman tries to get in around the marshy areas where the bog areas are,
Yeah.
and get in the car and try to push you off the road.
I suspect that they're all renditions and variants of the same story. You know what I mean? Like, because let's face it, a lot of our folklore and a lot of our paranormal stories, creepy ghost stories, they become tall tales over time.
Right, yeah. And a lot of people talk about having car problems on that road in particular. And as they leave that road, then the car is fine afterwards.
That I have experienced.
Yeah, we have too. And we've had the witch come through herself talking to us on Spirit Talker. Oh, we've had like some next level stuff happen, especially over at the grotto. But and then we've had some other people say, yeah, if you're a paranormal person, come and check out Flat Rock. We got all kinds of weirdness over here.
we can definitely bring your equipment down there, Justin. I know a few good spots that we could talk to. I don't know how much of this I should really say, but let's just say we can talk to a few ghosts.
Oh, all right, cool. I'm off for the summer. Let's do it. Come on, we goes.
Come on, we goes, buddy.
Oh, come on, we ghost.
Come on, we goes.
So, is there any other areas around Newfoundland and Labrador that's kind of next level for you guys?
Red Cliff.
Red Cliff is pretty wild too. Yeah.
Red Cliff. Now, where's that at?
It's out in out by oh God, what's it called? Pooch Cove, Outer Cove, Middle Cove area.
Oh, okay. So what happens out there?
It's not a whole lot, but it's a little bit of a hot spot. You can pick up on some things sometimes. There have been a couple of deaths out there. So, people have taken their own lives, or people have passed away through accidents and stuff like that. But yeah, it's Red Cliff is an old, kind of like a base. I believe it's like an antenna. Old military antenna type bunker. Mitch, you might know a little bit more about
Yeah, back when I had the old turnip truck, I used to bring it out there and burn circles in the field.
Turnip truck?
I had this green Ford F-250 that was never supposed to be road legal. It probably wouldn't roll out of the factory. But either way, like I couldn't take it on the road anywhere, so I'd take it up to Red Cliff there, and just course around till I broke it, basically. But I also spent a lot of time in Bunyan's Cove, Bonavista Vista Bay, out by Clarenville, that area. That's originally where I'm from. Yeah. And they have their own ghost stories out there. Like when Jan, when you sent out the invitation to have me on the show here. Yeah. I done a little bit of research out there. I wanted to talk to my mother, and my grandfather's no longer around, so she's the resource out there now. But they got their own ghost stories, including a ghost car that turns off into the woods, and you never see it again, type thing, right?
Oh, that's cool.
The one that's really prevalent, and I've heard her tell the story multiple times, and it never changes, so I know it's real. Right? Like I know that what she experienced was legitimate. She was walking up behind the Legion on Church Road in Bunyan's Cove, which is essentially it's. I'm not really good at painting a picture for you, but so there's a bridge with an old general store there, and on the other side of the bridge, on the other side of the road, there's a like a Legion type thing, like a town, not a town hall, but like a catch-all multi-purpose room type thing.
Right.
And she was walking home from there. She was living up behind the old church at the time. There's a United Church just up the way from there. Yeah. And she was living up there, and she was walking home as a teenager. And she said she smelled it before she seen it. She seen it. She smelled it before she seen it.
Okay, well, I've had stuff like that happen over by Petty Harbor.
Yeah, so she says it was the devil. That's what she says. But it was like her brother tried to convince her that it was a bear, and her dad went up there and looked around and stuff like that. But she said she could smell it, and it stood up and had red eyes.
Oh my gosh. No, that's next level. Yeah, we've had some weird stuff with red eyes like that over by the grotto. And yeah. So what about you, Justin? Do you have any other places you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, downtown is also known as a hot spot. It's downtown St. John's, I should say, of course. Yeah, downtown St. John's is
haunted place in North America. Yeah,
that's one of the things that they've said for sure, and I believe it. I mean, if you look at the infrastructure and you look at how old the place is, you look at how many times the place is burned down and stuff like that. You look at all the history. You look at everything from not just us, but you also look at when Newfoundland was first being settled and first being colonized. You know what I mean? It's, look at all the death, look at all the suffering that's been there. This place is. I feel like it would be like so foolish for it to not be haunted. You know what I mean?
Do you ever get like a lot of military stuff down there? Like when you're talking to Spirit on the Spirit Talker or Spirit Box? Downtown?
I'll be honest, I have not. Not in my experience.
Okay. What kind of people do you get coming through down there?
I've only done one or two experiences in the downtown area, and there was a lot of interference, so I didn't actually pick up on a whole lot that was tangible. I didn't pick up on anything that I was able to record. I didn't pick up on anything distinct on a Spirit Box that I was able to really say, okay, I have something here. But there's definitely a lot of uncaptured moments. There's a lot of moments where buildings that are abandoned to the point that they're condemned, there's distinct movement. There's distinct lights moving around. There's definitely something's going on here. I don't know what it is. I don't have any evidence for what it is, but there is something going on here. But like all the entrances are sealed. There's nothing there that indicates somebody could have breached it, and it could be a person that is responsible for this. Maybe it is, but there's nothing apparent that would indicate as such.
Yeah.
Derelict buildings.
Southside Road down there. Do you ever go down there and do some investigations? I always get a response down there.
Where's that? Sorry, I missed that part.
Southside Road down by where the boats are.
I haven't done that side.
The old military installations, there's some caves that go in there, but of course you can't get in there, but they're there. And I think that's where they used to store some of the military artillery and stuff like that, right?
So I didn't do a ghost investigation or a paranormal investigation there, but I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, there was like a meteorite pass by that was caught on somebody's doorbell cam or something like that. It was green meteorite burned up. And it looked like it could have actually touched down in Southside Hills or in Freshwater Lake or any of that kind of stuff. It looked like it might have touched down. So myself and a couple of my friends, we went up into Southside Hills trying to see if we could find it. Kind of did a little bit of live streaming on Facebook, and CBC actually caught wind of what we were doing, and they were like, hey, this sounds like fun. And they were going to send a crew to follow us, but we were already making our way down by the time they reached out to be like, hey, let's have a crew follow you. We never did find the meteorite, by the way. It was a fun excursion, but it was not a fruitful one.
Okay, yeah, you know what you're going to find around those areas.
Yeah, right? But that would be a good place to investigate for sure, especially if we go even further down into like the Fort Amherst area.
You always get something there. Whenever you're at Fort Amherst and you talk to the Spirit, it will respawn.
Nice. Mitch, let's do it.
Let's go. There, and let's check out Dead Man's Pond, too, the old gallows.
Oh, I love that place. Yeah,
I mean,
but that's oddly quiet there, Mitch. If you go further up to Signal Hill, you're guaranteed to get a response up there.
Oh, probably. But I got a magnet. I got a magnet on a rope. But do some magnet fishing and pair some stuff up, right?
Oh yes. You can probably get a few cannonballs and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You ever go hunting for cannonballs and stuff around? Well, I'm pulling this up on the screen, guys. This is the one, his signature. Look, the Fuhrer, who was one of the U-boats that bombed over on the island.
Oh, is that from? That must be at the Belle Island Museum. There's because of the World War II connection. There is a lot of Nazi regalia that is in that museum as a result.
Yes, there is.
It's kind of uncomfortable to look at, but at the same time, a very meaningful and important part of history at the same time. You know.
Right. Yeah. It is kind of sad, like you said, at the same time. But there's a lot of history there. I think that's the guy, picture of the man who actually bombed our boats, and that's some of his medals that his family donated. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of rich history here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Do you want to talk about any other stuff like the Wendigo or any cryptozoology stuff?
Mitch, you got any fun stories?
Well, I don't have a lot on cryptozoology or anything like that. I don't really follow the various different cryptids or whatever. Justin, I feel like this is a lot more in your wheelhouse.
Okay. Well, I haven't done a whole lot yet. Like I said, I've had a lifelong interest in it, but it's something that I've only fairly recently, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've been actually doing something with, and I've been doing it very piecemeal. I'm the kind of person who I like to make sure that I'm doing it the right way before I actually do it, and I also deal a lot with self-assurance issues every now and again, so I tend to second-guess myself. So at the very least, if I do say anything, at the very least you know that I've done my due diligence before I've actually said it. But some of the things that I am slightly interested in pursuing more is... I've heard that in CBS, there's something in the woods, like in the Duffy Park area and stuff like that. I've heard that there's something in the woods. I don't know what it is. Some people have said that it could be Bigfoot or Sasquatch. There's others who think that it could be Wendigo. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is, but it is something that I want to check out. I've only heard 2 or 3 people ever talking about Bigfoot Sasquatch in Newfoundland Labrador. The other big one that's of major interest to me is the wild black panthers that are apparently on the west coast of the province.
Oh yes, yeah, that's that stuff too.
Yeah, it's like so many people say they've seen them, but there's nothing evidence-based that documents that they actually are there. In terms of our fauna and flora, if you will, the black panthers are not exactly part of the expected Newfoundland species list, I suppose you could say. But
if they wanted to hide around, they definitely could, but not a problem because they're such an elusive breed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing is you got darker fur. It's easier for you to hide. You can blend in with the shadow. You can blend in with a hole. It's it's harder to get spotted. Right? Yeah,
I mean, there could be one behind Mitch right now.
It's true.
But you know what? We got a lot of other different fairy stuff that people talk about. The Fae is a very folklore part of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's in our water? That's another thing that people speculate a bit about. Yeah. So, giant squids.
Oh yeah, we definitely got the giant squids. The kraken. That's why I got the kraken on my. Maybe if I take myself off the stage.
Yep. You got that as part of your background image there. Yeah. So you've got the giant squid. You've got.
There it is.
Hell knows what else. You know what I mean? The ocean is just like untapped potential for weird things, whether it's mermaids or the kraken or anything else.
Yeah. Well, we've got that other one, Cressy, over in. Is that Central?
I dated a mermaid's sister once.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the top half of her was a fish.
Kind of like. You got Justin dying over there.
I think I know who you're talking about too.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Sorry to go down there.
Justin, do you want to talk a little bit about your productions, Justin Foley Productions?
Oh gosh, there's not a whole lot to talk about with that. I've got an entertainment company that I do. Started off with just doing birthday parties as costume characters. I created some of my own characters. There's a pirate. There's a mad scientist.
We got to make a mention of the reverb in the background. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
That's probably. I got you guys on the phone, but I don't have a microphone up, so it's probably just reverberating in my device.
Oh, could be.
Gotcha.
I'll turn you down a touch.
Okay. But yeah, so just, costume characters, stuff like that. Then I got into doing like airbrush tattoos and some event planning, and I got into doing some video production. I am also starting to develop this idea of doing some tours, like paranormal investigation tours. So
that'd be fun.
Obviously I want to do things on the up and up. I want to make sure that people understand we cannot promise anything. We cannot guarantee that you're going to have any kind of experience, that there's going to be any kind of outcome or anything like that. But what we could probably offer is, we can offer for sure. You come out, you go to a place that is documented as being a bit of a hot spot. One of those places that if there is something that's going to happen, you've got a good chance of it happening here. And, just seeing if anything does happen, so we'll bust out the spirit box, we'll bust out the digital recorders, try and get some EVP.
Yeah, and it's a good experience for the general public to do that. I know we did that over at the History House here in Torbay in Newfoundland and Labrador, and we did 2 different ones, and they were both sold out. And the general public loved it because they get to use the devices, right?
It's amazing. How did they go? How did the event go?
Oh, it was fun. It was great. I mean, we captured a lot of different stuff, and it was really fun. Yeah. So
That's
I think
awesome.
more of that would be greatly appreciated by Newfoundland and Labrador.
I think so. I think one of the good things about it is that it will help with the image or the optics, I suppose you could say, of this, because like I said, there's some detractors who think that paranormal investigation that paranormal investigation is a pseudoscience and that there's no merit to it. And there are those who will fabricate, there are those who will make things sensational just so that it looks, the people will see things and that, oh, we got to watch this is so cool, this is so real. There's a lot of things that are done legitimately, following proper scientific method, properly debunking what needs to be debunked, but lending credit to where things deserve to have credit as well. And I think that if people can see more of that process, seeing less of the jump scares on televisions and seeing more of the scientific method that's applied to it, I think that's going to help with the optics and people being less skeptical about it, people less calling it less frequently a pseudoscience and more of a science adjacent or science equivalent. You know what I mean?
What do you think about that, Mitch?
So, Justin, I feel like you're 100% correct on that. Like, the thing is that we as a human species love our campfire stories. You know what I mean? So like it's all like boo, and that became the shock value of the abrupt, the gore, you know what I mean? It after a little while, it becomes, like I said before, this game of telephone where things build on each other until eventually there's no longer any basis as to why. It's just scared. You know what I mean? Like if we can research a little bit more into why things are happening as opposed to just being afraid, we're going to go so much further with understanding this.
100%. Yeah, I think that is a great idea, Justin. Get more people involved, get their feet wet. Mitch, that'd be great.
Yeah,
So
and great. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I was going to ask you guys to give a shout out to your fans and where they can find you and whatnot.
Okay. Sure. Well, first, I want to say hi to my kids, Rain and Marley. Love you both very, very much. And, Mitch, one of my closest friends, actually, believe it or not. So, hey, Mitch.
Hey, buddy.
Mitch, do you want to give a shout out to your fans and like where people can find you on your socials and stuff?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a bit of an entertainer at heart. I sing and play guitar and sort of thing. I enjoy on the stage, and I've never really been microphone shy. So yeah, you can find me on TikTok as Johnny Trash 709. I am Johnny Trash.
It's true, he is.
Yeah.
Is that Johnny with an H or Johnny with a Jon?
Yeah. Somebody gave it to me and it stuck. But I'd like to give a shout out to my folks, of course. My mother, my stepfather, my dad. My grandparents. I mean, like they made all of this possible for me. I'd like to give a shout out to my bosses and my mentors and everybody that helped this. I mean, not very often you find a man happy with his life, and I'm happy with my life.
Well, that's good to hear, Mitch. Yeah, you're doing a great job. Now, for the folks who are listening, everybody follow Justin Foley and Mitch Hobbs. Like, you'll know where to find them, where they said they're on their socials. Justin, did you give out your socials?
No, I did not give out my social media. You look me up, you'll find me as Justin A. Foley. I hate the show 13 Reasons Why, so I very stubbornly insist on my middle initial being used. But you'll find me on as Justin A. Foley on Facebook. You can find me through either justinfoley.ca or justinfoleyentertainment.com, and you'll be able to find me fairly easily anywhere else through that. Otherwise, I kind of lay pretty low.
Well, I want to wish you both a very happy Canada Day. Woo! And thanks so much for being on the show today and with Paranormal NL Podcast. And you're listening in on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf Coast with UPRN. Woo! Thank you so much for being on. And we're going to leave you with some music from the Paranormal NL Podcast Bog Team music. And here we go. Here's some rap music for you. Let me turn it up. There you go. And we'll piece that with that stuff.
Ghost hunters in the fog, Newfoundland nights. Dark streets whispering under eerie lights. Boots thumping, soft shadows creep real tight. Team on the ground, ready for the fright. Boots on the ground, ghosts in the mist. Paranormal throws, we don't ever miss. From the haunted cliffs to the old ship's twist. Specters in our wake, we making lists. Echoes in the halls, cold breath of the past. Spectral whispers, questions they ask. EVP static, truth coming fast. Chasing shadows, we never come last. In the heritage town, tales time forgot. Legends in the air, tangled in the plot. Infrared spectrum, ghosts tied in knots. Creeping through the night, evidence caught.